We are live. We are live. We're live. We are live. Welcome to a frigid set. This might be shrinkage.
Yeah, this is pretty like this
could
is
be
pretty,
shrinkage.
Yeah, jumping in a really cold pool.
It's about 31.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Which is cold in Richmond.
32 is exactly freezing. We have shrinkage. All right. So we are here on a slug 'em down Saturday. Yes, we are having cocktails tonight. Log in the hizzy. Cheers.
In the house, man.
Good to see you. The highly questionable one. Wishing Tommy, hope he's all right up there in West Virginia, in the mountains up there. Good luck to Maddie on her showcase this weekend up there, which is why they made the trip. But here in the Sack at the Dago Bar, we go on. We go on.
We keep the party going.
We don't shut the government down. We go on.
That's right.
So this is those of you I don't disagree. Segment 1. Hey, this is our first, call it Bubble Watch, call it Power 16, call this the Race to March. It is officially on. It is February 22nd.
Yes, sir.
6 days.
It's amazing.
We are 6 days away from the madness of March. This is I don't care whether you're a basketball fan or not. If you work in an office, there will be an office pool.
Oh, yeah.
You will have a bracket. You will fill it out. And I don't care what your reasons or how you do it, rhyme or reason. It doesn't matter. I've seen people win these pools. You've seen this. You've been doing this long. Some chick picks the team with the best uniforms, and that one wins the whole fucking thing, and they don't know that damn thing about them.
Yeah.
But that's the madness of March. And that's the beauty of it. That's why it's the most bet on, most watched sporting event in the entire freaking world, and it goes on for 3 weeks.
Yep. And truly, you have teams that can actually pull upsets and win. And I think that's the most exciting thing about it, is that it's not always a gimme for all the 1 seeds to get to the Final Four, right? It's a tournament for that reason. You survive in advance. It's one of the truest statements.
I think if we could get Cinderella in front of a microphone, I think she'd say her favorite time of year is spring.
100%.
I would say so. So we are here tonight, segment 1. He is a Michigan State alum. By the way, they are in the top 10, and they did win today, or last night.
They did win last night against Michigan on the road as a 4-point underdog by 13 points.
Yes.
Jace Richardson, shout out to the freshman, 21 points.
Is it still called Chrysler Arena?
It is Chrysler Center now.
Chrysler Center now.
That is correct. That's good. Good memory.
Good. So Michigan State had a big win last night on the road against a very game Wolverine team, and they are set up to position themselves for a top 2-3 seed easily when this thing comes out. Izzo's got his best squad in years.
Since 2019, that was the Final Four squad.
Yeah.
The
thing is, they were a great defense team, but their shooting was their undoing.
Yeah, and they lost to Texas Tech, if people remember that. The next year was a really big year. Thought we would make the Final Four again, but COVID shut that down, and unfortunately, that was too bad. Cassius Winston didn't get a chance for his senior year to go to play in a tournament.
Which sucked.
That was Izzo's last good squad. I mean, he's had good players, but it's not like his normal. You know,
he is a regular March rental in the tournament. They're there every year. It's only news when they don't get there. So,
and it hasn't been in a long time. It's like
it's been
97. I think 96 was a long time. Actually, Tom Izzo has the longest tenured.
I think he does. Yes. Now that Krzyzewski's gone, I think it's him.
And Rick Barnes had it for a long time. Yes. He left Texas.
Yes.
Now, of course, at Tennessee, but he actually, him and Izzo were neck and neck for a while, and now Izzo's he's been there.
They were. Yes.
Yeah, he's still there. I mean, because they have not missed the tournament. They've been close. There was the year that UCLA went to the Final Four it was sort of a play-in game. We were one of the 68 games, and we played UCLA into overtime. We actually had the lead by like 7 or 8 in the last minute, and we blew it. They forced it to overtime. We ended up losing, but that squad was pretty good. That UCLA squad. I mean, they went to the Final Four.
UCLA is UCLA. So they sit at the top of that mountain that we talk about, and they always will with 11 nationals until somebody catches them. But this is our first really March Madness update. We will talk about a lot tonight. Obviously, Michigan State, the Big Ten, the ACC. The SEC is on a historic run.
Man.
I mean, I don't know if it was 9 or 10. They have at least 9 ranked teams.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, and I understand the NIL.
And I've got 6 of them in the top 16.
And I think you'd be justified.
Yeah, I mean, all of them are, you'd be a fool to leave them out.
I think you'd be justified. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted him here tonight. I'm glad he's here tonight, because he follows college basketball like, man, I know what my 16 is, but I wanted to hear his. And we'll get to that in a minute. But just with a brief overview, we're kind of giving you guys the landscape, where we stand as, again, it's 6 days to March 1st. Conference tournaments are 2 weeks away. Things are heating up. And the bubble watch has begun. Okay? And look, if you're ranked, you're getting in the tournament barring something. And so the SEC might get 10.
Yeah.
They might get 10. I mean, so, and honestly, I can't really argue against it because I've watched a number of these games, and all of these teams that are ranked are deserving. By the way, the number 2 team in the country is the Florida Gators, and no one is talking about them. No one. Last time, you remember that team that repeated? Al Horford, Boston Celtic world champion. Okay, they had what's his nuts in Chicago?
They had Joakim Noah. That was the 06-07.
Yep, Corey Brewer on the wing there.
Mr. Billy Donovan.
Mr. Billy D, who's now coaching the where is he? Chicago
Bulls.
Yeah. So I mean, and he was with Oklahoma City for a while before that. I mean, he can coach. And so Florida hasn't been this relevant since that. That was about 18 years ago, 17 years ago. But here they are.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how a team can ascend to the number 2 spot in the country and nobody mentioned them all week long.
No,
I don't understand this. I get it because what they're talking about is the bubble watch.
Yeah.
Because any team ranked that high is getting in. So, but their ascent to this spot has been nothing short of impressive. They won again today, and I believe they won. It was a tennis Rupp Arena. They beat Kentucky in Rupp Arena today by 2 touchdowns. Okay, so, and it wasn't the football team. Okay, so Florida is a team to be taken seriously, just like Alabama, who, although Georgia gave them 5th. This is the thing, Georgia was 16-10.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to wonder, are they 16-10 because they've got 9 ranked teams in their league?
Well, and it could be, when we played Indiana, we had the same problem. They were 14-10. That was the night that Izzo laid the loafy, right? Where we should have won.
Yep.
Tough, and then we go on the road and beat a 17-7 Illinois team and destroy them. So just odd things, but that's college basketball, man.
I mean, it's college basketball. That's why we love it, and I'm trying to get my son into it because maybe it'll get him to practice more. We'll get into that later on. But anyway, so the SEC is loaded. The Big Ten is usually get loaded. The ACC does now have 3 ranked teams. Clemson won today, and as we speak, number 3 Duke, who's one of the 2 teams that beat Auburn, right now is bending over Illinois, who's 17-10. Not a bad team, but they're up in Champaign, and I think they are bending them over.
It was like 25 points. It was crazy.
It's currently 85-51.
Good Lord.
It's 34. This is the best Duke team in quite a while. Krzyzewski kind of willed that last one to the Final Four because he's Krzyzewski. But they didn't have the kind of talent this one has.
Which is still impressive that they're recruiting like that, because I tell you, when Coach K and Roy Williams were out, that was great news for Tom Izzo, because Tom Izzo always had a tough time getting those marquee players from Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, those big blue bloods. It was always tough. Yeah. And that's why I think Izzo gets a lot of credit for coaching up kids that aren't all 5 stars. They're local kids, they're 3 stars, but he gets them where he needs them.
Let me tell you why I love that, man. It's not because he's Italian. Okay? And people have said this that know basketball. The best coaches on this planet are in Division I college basketball because they actually still teach the game there.
Yeah,
and they're the ones when people want a soundbite about what's going on with the state of basketball. They go and talk to the best teachers, and they're always in Division I college basketball. And Tom Izzo sits at the head of that table now that Coach K is gone. He's been to at least how many Final Fours?
8.
Okay. Okay.
2 finals, 1 national championship.
Understand something. It is the reason they make such a big deal out of this, because it is so hard to get to a Final Four. It's hard to win 6 games in a row, and they're all on neutral sites. This is why this tournament is so loved and beloved and watched, because it is so fucking hard to do this.
Yeah.
And to get to 8 Final Fours, that is.
You said something one time which was really good to hear an outsider say this about Tom Izzo. You said, I'll never forget, you said, hey, Tom Izzo's never going to be accused of running from anybody.
No.
And I love that statement because for a long time it used to piss me off. We'd start the season with it's Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, you're like UCLA, Kentucky in a row. Yeah. And we'd be 1-4 or 0-5 to break the kids down and say, hey, this is the type of competition we need to face. We're going to face if we get to a tournament. So get your shit together, basically. Yep. He's since laid back on that a little bit. You might see 2 or 3 of them up front, but Kansas, Memphis, UCLA, and there's one more. North Carolina, we beat
North
them
Carolina, who's having an off year, but I think they're going to make it. I think they're 18-10 or something.
It's North Carolina.
They're probably going to be because of North Carolina, if we're being honest.
Yeah. And Nuggets just closed the gap to 1. 10 minutes. I mean, it's early in the third, but
this is the second. This team won a championship 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So the thing is this. This field is loaded. It's loaded. It's a lot. There's a lot of good teams this year. I mean, it's not about default. It's about shit. There's a lot of contenders this year.
I've got 16 on my list, and I'm going to tell you, every single one of these teams are good basketball teams. I mean, really good basketball
Let
teams.
me ask you, but without giving away the list yet.
Yep.
Is there anyone on there? Don't give me a name, but
Yep.
is there any team on there that you couldn't see making a run to the Final Four? You couldn't see him doing it.
Ooh, I would say.
Don't say the name. Just
Nope. Yes, there's one.
There's one. Okay.
One for sure, because
Okay.
I'm a little bit of a hater, but we'll get to that. Maybe that's another segment of why.
You? A hater?
Yeah, on this. But I'm not like that. You're right. I'm not normally like that. I'd say.
That Tom Brady Lofi Award nominee was nothing. I'm not trying to hate, which is the first thing that they tell you when they're not trying to hate. But because they're hating.
90% of the time, I'm not a hater, but there's a certain hater.
I understand you hating Tom Brady. I get it. A lot of people hate Tom Brady. He's a Michigan alum. Oh,
yeah. So yeah. I mean, you get it. Like, yeah. It didn't start good with us, and then but listen, I've got one on here that I can. I don't necessarily make fun of them, but there is. Yeah, I'd say there's a case for maybe 2 on here that might not make the Final Four.
You couldn't make the Final Four. Like,
it's probably going to be a lot more.
Any one of these 14 you could realistically see in it.
Yeah.
Except this.
And that's when I made this list today, I was literally like, my God, we've got a lot of damn good basketball teams in America. Like, usually it's about 5 to 8 to where you're like, these guys could all win the national championship.
Yeah,
this year it's a lot more. And listen, I left some guys off the list that like I'll give you one that I left off the list.
Okay.
And people are probably like, oh my God, it's Iowa State. I left them off the list.
Yeah.
But they could easily make a nice run. I could see them in the Sweet 16.
It's probably, and again, I don't know how, he's almost my age, but I've been watching this tournament since I was like 7.
Man.
This might be the deepest field I've ever seen. I'm not saying it's the most talented.
Man. Yeah.
I just think it might be the deepest. I'm just saying, that's why I said when you look at your Power 16, and he'll be giving these every week because it could change. But this is kind of the first one. This is the first one. But when he says to me, of this 16, there's only 2 in here that I can't see getting to the Final Four. That tells you how deep the field is. Right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
You said it yourself. Usually it's 4, 5, 8, maybe 8 teams tops. 14, legitimately.
Easy. Like, I can see all these teams.
Easily,
none of them would surprise me. Well, I could make a case for all of them in regards to that. So.
And I got news for you. Beyond that 14, there's quite a few others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I'm really excited about this tournament. Picking out these brackets is going to be a nightmare. This is going to be a nightmare bracket. And again, there's still a lot of basketball left to be played because there's still 2 weeks till the conference tournaments. I get all that. But right now, when I look at this, if I had to fill out a bracket on this, it would be a horror show.
Yeah. Auburn's going to get a lot of love, but they got a road to face.
Yeah, I get, Auburn and Duke are the sexy picks because they've both been in the top 5 all year long.
Yep.
But like I said, when I mentioned Florida, no one is looking at this Florida team. I mean, they are quietly a very, very good basketball team who can beat you in a lot of ways. And I maybe it's because the SEC is so damn deep, like historically so deep, that they're kind of getting lost in the shuffle. Right now, they're the second-ranked team in America, and I think it's time they went to the head of the shuffle because you don't just get to number 2 by accident. They're in that league. I'm just telling you, if you haven't watched one game, just turn on any SEC game. It's like it's a Donnie every night. Doesn't matter who it is.
It's like they replaced football. Yeah, like now it's basketball. Like Georgia, it was 16-10. Auburn, it was 1 minute to go. Auburn had the ball at 5. They were at Auburn, and Georgia is 16-10. They're a bubble team because they'd probably be 25 wins if they were in another conference. Yeah,
they were right there with Auburn.
They're in the A10, they're winning it. Yeah, you know what I mean? No problem.
If they're in a mid-major conference, they're winning it. It's not close. So they may not get in, and they're a good basketball team.
Yeah.
I was like, how's this team 16? And then before I realized, oh, that's right, they're in the SEC. They are, because you can say that. Literally, you could say that. Up and down that list. So I'm very excited about this. Obviously, my loyalties have lied with Duke since Grant Hill, which now is going on. I was 15 when I first saw him. 36 years. I've been a Duke fan.
Yeah.
And I never played against Grant Hill. We got beat before we would have played him in the Final Four. We lost in the Final 8 to a guy named Chris Webber. Detroit Super Friends.
Yep.
Jalen Rose, a couple guys from the Michigan area.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So, and we that was a hell of a game. But if we had beaten them, we'd have faced off Grant Hill and Randolph Childress in the national semifinals. So when I heard that he was, and at this point he's going into his sophomore year, but he was kept back. His age, his birth, whatever. It's deep leader in the year, so he's one of those holdbacks. So, but he was already committed to Duke.
Yeah.
As a sophomore in high school.
Which
is the equivalent of what LeBron James was coming out. So when we went down and we saw LeBron James at Disney World Complex in 2000, everybody's telling me he's not 17. I'm like, yes, he is. I'm like, how do you know that? I'm like, I played against Chris Webber, who looked more of a man than he did.
Yeah.
Chris Webber was a man. And it was a child in a man's body. At 15, I'm not kidding. At 15, he looked like he looked when he was at Michigan as a freshman.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
He was always big, and then he got to the league and he bulked up a little bit. I mean,
and he made the Hall of Fame. He made like 6 or 7 All-Star teams. He kind of faded quick when he did, but he made the Hall of Fame, and so did Grant Hill. So that was my class, and Jason Kidd was another one in that tournament, by the way. But I actually saw him up close. Like really up close. So the thing is, this tournament is loaded. The SEC is loaded. The Big Ten, I think they're kind of where they normally are. 5 ranked teams, I think.
You got 5 ranked teams. I got only 4 on my list that I feel like are going to would make the top 16.
Okay.
And then I've got but I don't think it's the deep Big Ten because I think 5th is UCLA, right? Right now.
This is what I can't. This is the thing. They brought in all these past.
Yeah, and UCLA.
It's not
they're good. They're UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA.
And I like Cronin as the coach. I mean, he's a tough coach. I love him.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of the West Coast Izzo a little bit. He's tough. He's gritty.
Yeah.
That's the Midwestern stuff. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't know if they're good. Like when I watch them play, there's something about them that just there's not like.
Yeah, they're not
consistent. They're not consistent. No. Yeah.
They're talented. They're not consistent.
Yeah. It's the shooting. It's a lot of threes. USC's the same way. Shooting a lot of threes. I mean, I know that's the way the game is now, and the NBA is really, really hot on that.
It's losing. It's losing ratings because of it. Because people are tired of this bad 3-point contest. So hopefully
every night,
most of these teams are doing this. Who can get up 40 threes first? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, so with that said, I want you to give me your Power 16.
Okay.
Do you want to go from 16 to 1?
I don't have them in any particular order. I got them kind of sectioned out. I think let's.
Okay. Well, all right. So let's hear. This is going to be Lawton's first of many.
Yeah. I got you.
Everywhere we have Lawton's Power 16, and right through the Final Four.
And let's start. We've been talking about the SEC. Yeah, I'll start with all 6 SEC teams. I mean, I think Auburn's not like a big surprise, right? They're the number 1 team in the nation for a reason. Okay. Yeah. Florida is another one. Okay. So we talked about Florida already.
Oh yeah.
Very impressed today watching the Texas A&M game. Tennessee's another good team.
Tennessee's a good basketball.
Rick Barnes is a damn good coach. He's a great guy to have around. We talked about him and Izzo early in the show about how they battled for the longest tenure.
He's another great teacher of the game.
Great teacher, So Auburn, Florida, Tennessee.
Yep.
And then, of course, watching them play Texas A&M. Texas A&M is definitely they're a good squad. They're good squad. They're good from the free throw line. And they drive to the basket. They're really kind of an old school team.
They kind of are.
Bama's on here.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my 5. And then I got Kentucky on here. I know Kentucky lost today, but listen, I got faith.
They lost to Florida.
Yeah, they lost to Florida, but listen, I got faith. Again, if they were of the first 16 selected, again, that's why I went this list, would not surprise me at all.
Yeah,
surprise me.
Okay, so
I'll start there. Those are my SEC specials.
Okay. And then go from this. That's what, 6 of them?
So that's 6 of them.
All right.
So now we'll go on. So I didn't look like such a homer to the Big Ten. Now I love ESPN. Shout out to ESPN for keeping Michigan State off their initial Sweet 16 list and having Michigan on there. Listen, Michigan State was the one that had the 13 wins in a row.
Why was
this
Michigan on there and not Michigan State?
Exactly. It happens all the time. It's the brand. We get it. We're
you were ranked in the
we're a little brother, man. It's all good.
It hasn't been ranked in the top 5 or you have.
They've been moving up. They were 12.
You have been in the top 10. I think since day one.
Until last week. Until we had the struggle. We went out to the West Coast. This is recent after the 13-game win streak. We lose to USC, who had better shooting from downtown than
normal.
It was crazy. I've never seen a game like that. But anyway, they won. So we lost to them and UCLA, and everybody started to freak out. Well, Michigan State always has a midseason slump. It's happened. Go back to like 2000. You'll see it every single year. Late January, early February, Michigan State's losing games for no reason. Who did we beat? Last night to beat Michigan was huge. All right. On the road, 4-point underdogs. You beat them by 13.
Yeah.
Then 2 days before, you beat Purdue at home.
Yep.
Purdue was ranked higher. Then a few days before, you go on the road and beat Illinois. Was it always Illinois? Michigan State football always has a problem playing in Iowa at Kinnick Stadium. There's all this lore about it. Like, oh fuck, we got to go to Kinnick.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Michigan State basketball, always a problem. We go to Champaign. Always a problem. It's like something weird there. We dominated that game. So Michigan State, obviously, one of my Big Ten teams.
Sure.
Purdue, very impressive as well. That game was actually the game before that. Michigan played Purdue and beat them at home. Purdue had boat raced them a few weeks before.
Yeah.
But Michigan won that game, and I'm telling you, man, they've got some 3-point shooters. They're not Not the same, right? You know, because Edie played there, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not the same without Edie.
They've had to restructure that entire team.
But Boyer's still good. Listen, they've got guys that can shoot the three. So Purdue was my second choice.
Okay.
And then I got Wisconsin. You know, Wisconsin's one of those weird teams that always seems.
Badgers.
Those stinking Badgers, man.
It's like, you know, they're boring. No one cares. But then you look up in the football, they're ranked in the top 20.
You know, and they
look up in the basketball, they're ranked in the top. They're like, what the? How? No one talks about.
They're the team in the Big Ten. They're not flashy.
They're not.
You know, they just get it done.
Yeah.
So like, I got Wisconsin on there, and then my last Big Ten team. I'm not a hater. I put Michigan on there. Listen, I understand Michigan's good, but listen, Dusty May. I know that was supposed to be your coronation last night, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I've never heard this. You must be real worried about a guy signs a 5-year contract, and in his first year you extend him a year.
Yeah, that's.
You must have been real concerned about him.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this: Dusty May's got a lot of transfers on that squad. He can coach. He's got. You know, listen. They had the brand, the Michigan brand sells. We know this. They recruit. All right, we know they're good. They just need a guy to put it all together. But every Michigan coach is real good in their first year. Remember Juwan Howard, who got the egregious Coach of the Year award for only making it to the Elite Eight. He's the only coach to do that.
Did he do a Final Four?
Didn't even take Michigan to a Final Four in their first year, but he got Coach of the Year.
He did get them there though once. They did.
No.
Michigan never made
Elite. He got to Elite Eight that first year. That was it. And that was with Beeline's players.
Yeah.
And I actually liked Coach Beeline. Coach B was pretty good. But I digress. Year 2, year 3, we'll see what Dusty May's made of. But listen, they got a squad this year.
Sure.
They've got, if they can get their guards, their shooters, they got to have more confidence. That's all it is. You got big men. Look, the kid from Yale. Why can't I think of his name right now? I'm having a. Oh my God, Drew. It'll come to me. I always call him Drew Lock, but I know it's not. That's
not
not
Drew
it.
Lock. No.
No, but anyway, they got guys that can take it to the basket. He's a 7-footer transfer player. He's gone next year. He'll go to the NBA.
Okay.
Michigan's legit, and they wouldn't surprise me if they're in that. So that's 10 of them, right? Yep.
That's 10. Yep. Keep going.
All right, Duke's not going to be a surprise to anybody.
No.
I mean, listen,
they're legit.
good.
They've been top 3 all year.
All right, here's a team that him and I talked about before the show. Obviously, we weren't on, so you didn't know. But
you don't know what you don't know.
He mentioned
you can suspect.
Houston. I was watching them today, and I'm just mesmerized by their front court. They got a lot of big, long, athletic dudes, right?
Yeah.
Rebounding's good. Defense is good. And they're fast when they get out in the break. So
the Houston Cougars,
legit
are and again this goes back.
They're a Final Four team. I could say it right now.
This is another one of the I said it earlier about the teaching and where it's best. Calvin Sampson is one of those dudes.
Yeah,
that dude has been a winner everywhere he's gone.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Final Four.
Now, was it Kelvin or was it Bruce Pearl that used to be the scammer? I think it's Bruce Pearl, right?
The scammer is John Calipari.
Well, we know that.
Daddy Cash.
But
you know how much of a scammer you have to be to get a nickname like Daddy Cash?
But those guys.
Like the ultimate scammer.
I think it's Bruce Pearl, not Kelvin.
What do they call him?
Oh, we call them like just straight scammers. You know what I mean? Just straight.
I didn't know that he was a scammer. Okay.
Yeah. One of those guys. I think it's Bruce Pearl. But Sampson, you're right, has been a good coach.
Yeah. Calvin Sampson has been a consistent. He wins everywhere he goes, and his play. The other thing about you, I'm glad you brought up Houston because you can tell a good coach by when you watch the team in November and then you look at them again in February.
Yeah,
they're always better in February. Always.
Yeah, I agree.
Izzo's one of those guys. Krzyzewski was one of those guys. Calvin Sampson's one of those guys. Rick Barnes is one of these guys. Bill Self at Kansas is one of those dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always tell when a team is well coached because you look at them in November and then you go back 3 months later like, whoa.
Yep.
They're better. Like they're fun. They're always better at the end of the year. And Calvin Sampson's one of those dudes. And that makes alone.
And this is a perfect segue into my next school. Now, this is also one of the 2 schools that I could see not making the Final Four. This one is not.
Okay.
No, this one is because I'm a hater. It is absolutely. But Bill Self's Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas is absolutely going to be there. Listen, but
hey, at least he's honest about his hatred.
But listen, they got a guy.
You know, Tom and I hide.
They got a guy on their squad that's not a winner. And it's not because he used to go to Michigan, but Hunter Dick's not getting it done for you. All right.
Oh, no.
Hunter Dick is not getting it done.
Hunter Dickinson.
He's not getting it done.
Oh man.
So this is one of the teams I would say definitely in the top 16.
Tall white guy. Tall, white, stiff.
Garbage. Makes more money on his podcast probably. Yeah. But listen, I can see Kansas being one of the 2 teams on this list
that gets bounced early
or something random happens.
Meaning second round, first or second.
Listen,
round.
Bill Self's a great coach.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna take anything away from him, but he reminds me a lot of Izzo. Like Izzo, because Self only has 2 rings.
Yeah.
He just got his second, right? Just a year or 2 ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that I remember thinking
2 though already.
Yeah, he's got 2, and that's why Izzo keeps going for that second.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, think about who's got 2 who's still around him. Patino.
Yeah.
There's not many. There's not many coaches currently coaching that have 2 national championship rings.
All right, we're wrapping up the list pretty close here.
All right,
but
keep going.
I mean, you just perfect segue. You said Rick Pitino. And I got the Johnnies on here, And listen, I mean, I know how you feel about Rick. Richard is not your guy.
Pinocchio, Richard Pinocchio.
Yeah, right. I know
Dick Pinocchio.
But what he's done with the Johnnies is pretty impressive, and they're number 1 right now in the Big East. So
I never said he couldn't coach.
No.
Okay,
I know.
But he's more of a recruiter than a coach, and Tom brought that speech up the other night on the show. You should watch that segment.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I would have bought it if I didn't already know who the man was.
Yeah.
So, because trust me, you can't call a bunch of kids cowards when you did the most cowardice thing I've ever seen a head coach do in my life. When your team loses in Miami and you don't even have the ball.
I thought you were talking about when he took the girl in the stall.
There's that. There's that. He's also a slime ball and a sea of pus. But the thing is, and that doesn't surprise me given what I'm telling you. He loves himself. He's Donald Trump. He's a narcissist.
Yeah.
He loves himself too much. He used to have a show. The Celtics never made the playoffs, by the way, in his 2.5 years there. He would have a Rick Pitino Celtics basketball show every Saturday morning.
Oh, my God.
From the moment he got there. They hadn't won a playoff game. They hadn't won a division title. They hadn't done nothing. His best year was his first year. They were 36-46. So, yes, he belongs in the college game because he can still manipulate kids. And they've got a lot of talent. They're in New York, by the way. Not exactly a bad place to look for college basketball talent.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Just a few. Smidge. Okay, so I'm not surprised to hear that. And I agree, but from a talent perspective, he's absolutely right. They've got thoroughbreds. They've got some thoroughbreds on that team. They do. But he was at Kentucky. He had thoroughbreds. I mean, in Louisville, he had thoroughbreds.
Oh, my goodness. This is a 3-point contest tonight between the Lakers and the Nuggets. Sorry.
It's not 3 points. It's 12.
No, I said it's a 3-point contest. The last 4 shots I've seen are threes.
Well, the Lakers are winning that contest right now by 12, which is 4 3-pointers. So anyway, all right, who else?
So I got 2 left. All right, so this one we'll talk a little bit about. I'm going to sound like a hater, okay? I'm going to sound like, and it's bad because it's close to home, right?
Because I'm a hater.
It's bad, but
You can be a hater.
I got Marquette on the list, but listen, I'm just not.
Oh, Shaka.
I'm just not real big on Shaka, and here's why. I think he did a great job at UVCU.
He did.
Right?
Yeah.
Got him to the Final Four. But listen, that was a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere you've gone. You've gone to Texas, now you're at Marquette. And
they made a Final Four, didn't they?
I don't believe so. They haven't been able to really get over that hump. Elite Eight,
I know they got to the Elite Eight. I thought they made 1 Final Four. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They might have. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so he has got them to
I think he's a nice guy. You know what I mean? He talks well, and
Yeah.
they really dive in with him. If you watch March Madness every year, it's like, I haven't heard about Shaka Smart all year. Now they're like, hey, we're following Shaka around. You're like, why?
So. Well, they are ranked, aren't they?
They are definitely ranked. Yeah. No, Marquette's good.
Yeah,
but like I said, I could see them and Kansas getting bounced early. Those would be the 2 teams. Okay.
I would agree with that.
And then the last one, I just had to be honest and say, to be the man, you got to beat the man. I got to put UConn back in there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as a top 16, they're the champs. I got to give them enough respect.
No, they will, if they haven't started their ascent already, they'll make a run.
Mr. Hurley's a damn good coach.
He's a damn good coach.
Yep.
Loves himself a little too much, as we find out.
Oh, yeah.
But he can coach.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt.
And, in the tournament, coaching and backcourts generally win.
So I'm sure I didn't surprise you with any of those picks. I mean, did you say UCLA? No. Nope.
No, okay. Who was I thinking of?
Wisconsin, maybe? That might have been one.
Wisconsin. That was the one.
We were kind of like, yeah.
No, but
you get it. Like, they're one of those teams that just don't do anything sexy, but they get it done.
And they're ranked, I assume.
Yes. Yeah.
So I have them in the top 25. Like, I don't know that they would make my Power 16. They're the one that I had a question of. But I'll be honest, I've seen them play once, and it was early in the year.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about them. The game I saw them play, they did win. But I was like, all right, but the team they beat wasn't really... it wasn't a good litmus test, to be fair.
Sure.
So either way. So I can't sit there and say, well, they beat nobody. They're ranked, so obviously they're beating somebody. Yeah. But when you say that to me, the Power 16, I'm like, Top 25, maybe to 16, I don't know about. That's the one I would take issue with. The rest of them I totally agree with. Look, UConn's not playing well enough right now. If we're just going by their record, I wouldn't put them in there. But in terms of the biggest threat outside that 16, it's them for me. Because they wouldn't be in my 16. But, all right, who's outside this that you can see making a run? UConn be the first thing I say.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the first thing I say. Because they've been there.
Yep.
They've been there.
Back to back, baby.
Yeah, experience does also matter in the tournament. It does. You see this all the time. You see teams because a lot of these guys have the one and done rule. These loaded. You see these top ranked teams. They lose to these mid level majors, but the kids have been there 4 years.
Sure.
The kids you have are 19. They have 21, 22-year-olds, and they've been together 4 years.
Yep.
They know that they're the toughest teams to play. So that's the thing about it. And UConn, because they've kept a lot of their guys. They've lost 2 or 3, but they're core. They've got a lot of guys that were there for both those teams still.
Yeah. Yeah.
They still got guys in the room. Okay, so that there makes them a threat, and that's why I'd say outside of my 16, I wouldn't have UConn or Wisconsin in there, but I could see definitely UConn.
Yeah.
Making a run.
It's not jump off a building crazy, you know.
No, it's not. You wouldn't be shocked if there they are. Like, whoa, they were an 11 seed. Yeah, but they're them. So I agree with that. And then lastly, before we take the end of the segment, because we're going to come back segment 2, we got a lot more to talk about. But the last thing I would say, North Carolina. Like I don't know. Hubert Davis has been nothing but successful since he's been there. This might be the worst team he's had. I don't understand it though. How did North Carolina, with all the alums they got historically from a basketball, how are they not doing better? How are they not getting? Because they just don't look. They don't look as talented as I've in the past.
No, they don't really North Carolina-ish. That's kind of what I was going for.
Talent, you're not used to seeing this at North Carolina.
Yeah, you're like, no, this is weird.
This is weird. They don't lack for A-level talent usually, and they suddenly do.
Yeah, and
that's what I don't understand that. Given the alums that have been there, I mean Jordan, Worthy. I mean I can go on. Brad Dory. I can go on and on. I mean they've got. So how are they not? With the money that the resources available to them in the NL, not pulling better, and they've been to a Final Four. Hubert Davis has been to 1 or 2 Final Fours already. He's had success.
Yeah.
How are they not drawing? I can't believe the roster they're rolling out.
Yeah.
I can't believe
different.
It's different. So,
but JJ Redick would be pleased.
I'm sure he would. So anyway, that's what we're saying. We'll come back. Segment 2, NBA update. We'll update you on this game. Celtics starting to make a push. What's happening with the Knicks? Wembanyama out for the season. And then there's the whole Draymond Green. We'll talk about it. Segment 2 coming right up.